So yeah, we're going to come across this because it's kind of important and it's going to be what most of this is about. But this. It's a very fun, short little thing, which it basically is essentially them sort of like having a moment of going too close to the sun, which I like. It's a moment of, oh, we're doing this, and we're going closer and closer, and like we're doing really good, and someone gets injured. And there's a certain level of like really intrigue because they do a bit of like just slowing it a bit down before we get into something big. Which I like. It's a little slow story that like, okay, we did a little bit, we did your house, we've done a little play, one of us, I was about to say something else. I was about to say something about we say at work, and I don't think I can say that because that can show where I work. But some of the children, and they're like, oh yeah, I did a test and your technique helped me. There's one moment, and I know it's a fully thing, it's common, and where I was like, okay, we can do this. And it's like, that's, I think, a common thing. It's basically like putting someone's foot there and doing a jump, which makes you go higher. I think it's an athlete thing, I don't know fully about it, but not important to this. What it is, it's fun. But, wait, this? The Reaper? Because the Reaper was mentioned, by the teacher. Who is the most deadliest assassin? The Reaper. And you get introduced by them sort of being like, oh, I want to have a relationship between the Professor and Miss Yelovich, which have slowly become a thing. And become a thing bigger later. But again, not really important now. And because the professor didn't really try as much and did it because of the students, and so I don't think that was one of the reasons that she might have. But you don't get that at first. I'm saying this now because I'm doing both parts. What happens is you meet with someone who's with flowers, does the flower, and says, oh yeah, come to this location or I'll cut her into pieces. What a great opening move. But it's dark. You go to that place and it's a trap. And I also like the line, welcome to your last lesson, students. That's amazing. You also get the idea of what happens if trying to kill Koro-sensei comes to the expense of the students. You don't get too much. You get one bit at the beginning that sort of talks about it, and then him thinking about it, and him going, no. Because it actually is a philosophy. This is one thing I'll talk about later, because the more you learn about Koro-sensei, is that he is not doing this on purpose. Obviously he wants to live, and there's certain goals in mind that he wants to do with 3E, which is important, and why he's fine, but he's not going to do it without doing this, like, last mission, which I think is really interesting. I think somewhat he knew he was going to die anyway. He was going to do that. This is a thing that would happen because of his biology. He's not like doing that, and now I'm going to do this on purpose, which is unlike the beginning of the series, which sounds like he was going to do that on purpose. Or at least how I sounded, I was like, this person's going to blow up the planet. Sounds like it's like, oh, this is deliberate. But with this, there's a certain level of... if you take all of that out, the character, all of this stuff out, there's a certain level of someone who's going to cause this destruction, so the planet will die, but I think it's like 23... I know it's like 24, but I'm not including Ritsu, the mobile device, because I don't think her physical, like, body that had a thing, so there was a version of her programming out there, and she could, like, quickly leap from place to place. I don't fully know it would be confusing about what would happen in that situation. But you do have this, which I think is really interesting. And it's about, would that happen? Obviously, you don't get that much darkness. I like the concept, but with this, it's a no. Which I like. And you also get the idea, because the common line is honor between thieves. And it's like, there's no honor between assassins. You get them betraying each other and more intrigue. And you get the reveal, how is the Reaper's assassin able to go from position to position? He has no face. Where's his face? He needs a face. He has no face. Where is his face? Yeah, he has no face. I don't know what I should say about that, but he has no face. It is the most interesting and dark idea, because obviously I'm not going to comment about how that scientifically wouldn't exactly work and how that works, because I'm assuming in a world where this thing can be created, technology's a little bit more advanced, and I don't want to think about someone's face coming off. Ooh. Because then you have your eyelids and but then you realise, wait, that's one, a creative idea, as the best assassin is able to just swap faces, and two, he is stealing faces. I don't know if I am saying this enough of how creepy this is. And you know what? He comes back later. I know it's a spoiler, but I've spoiled a couple of things before. And he's even more creepier. But this is interesting. You have this number one assassin, and he's gone. He has his trick, and there's a certain level where he does have this form of talent. But he seems not as big as what his name would imply. You also, I love this where it's like, let's go, and then Miss Elvis is going. It's like, yeah. I also like the idea about the shoes, like, yeah, betrayal comes with the territory. Like, if we couldn't handle just one person betraying us, we're not really fit for this line of work. Which is, like, one, true, and two, what the but you're like, oh yeah, someone betrayed us. Anyway, moving on. It is really interesting for the bigger story, but it also likes how there's 2 episodes of it ramping up after we have a cool down of it 5 episodes, which didn't really have a lot much. Which I think is good and really fun. It also is exciting for what is coming next, but that's what I think is fun about it, because it's just sort of like, and then we're just going to rest a bit, which is really cool and fun in my opinion. So yeah, I am excited for what is next, because you get a lot of big hits coming up. So you're going to get a bit more of this. Because what I think is next is you have an exam thing, which has another episode on the backstory of Free E's classroom and all that stuff. You get backgrounds on Kuro Sensei and another assassination attempt. And then, no, you have assassination, then the backstory, and then the choice. It's really interesting as we're going into this. The episode becomes more and more interesting. So you might get episodes out less and less. But this 2-parter was interesting. And how they introduced this antagonist, like they did with the last season, that might come back later, is fun. It shows the both side of the military and the side of the assassins. Season 1 did military, Season 2 did assassins. But I absolutely love this. I absolutely enjoy this. But I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you like. And I want to see what you think. Write in the comments. What do you think about this? And what's your favourite episode? If you have any more comments, write them down. I will definitely talk about it. But I hope you enjoy, and good night.